Hello, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I just saw you have an anti-meme poster behind you, and it made me so happy.
Oh, that whole thing?
I'm a big old theater kid, so I love it. But to start, I'm obsessed with Morph. I have never thought to myself, yeah, it makes sense that Morph is non-binary more in my entire life than seeing X-Men 97 be like, yeah, of course they're non-binary. They can transform into literally any human being. So
Right?
makes the most sense. But for you, getting to play Morph in this new series and bringing a Morph to life that is representative of the non-binary community, what for you is the joy of getting to develop Morph and create them in that kind of perspective?
Ooh, I mean, there's so much to it. I think part of it is as somebody who identifies as genderqueer, growing up in the '90s, not having the terminology to know how to describe it until I was in my
Mhm.
late 30s. It's I completely identify with where he's at. Oh, and P.S. His pronouns are he, him. Um, And the only reason being is because we didn't say they, them in the '90s.
That is so true. I love
Yeah,
it
like
so much.
yeah, and I think the key to remember is, I'm sure there's a lot of just delightful trollish people who are waiting for us to have the very special episode where Morph says, "I'm non-binary." Well, unless they flash forward to 2020 or at least 2015, like it's not going to happen because he wouldn't have had that terminology to describe
Mm.
himself. But that doesn't mean, like me, when I was a teenager, I didn't have the terms to describe myself. That didn't mean I wasn't genderqueer. It just means I didn't have the label at my fingertips yet.
Mhm.
So going through that journey myself, I completely know where Morph is at and he's very much in a period when we meet him again in the beginning of this series in coming to discover where he fits, not only in the world or in his gender or whatever, but also just in the team. I mean,
Mm.
he spent most of the original series like either dead or going through the trauma, the psychological trauma of Mr. Sinister and then recovering from it. So he's just rejoined and is now just trying to figure out like, where do I fit in this?
Mm.
And as somebody who has gone through a whole ton of trauma and then tries to mask it with a lot of humor and snarky remarks, which I completely identify with, and that's such a queer archetype kind of
Mm.
thing in a great way. Like, of that's we try to mask things with humor. So I love him for that. I love him on so many levels. I also love that Morph is a collaborative character where I play him, but anytime he shifts, he's played by somebody else. And it's
Mm.
fun to hear their take on my snarky and sassy remarks. So, it's fun.
I love more of like I started rewatching the X-Men with my niece when I was on vacation because I had watched my screeners and was like, "Do you want to rewatch this series I grew up with in the 90s?" And she was like, "Sure." And she was like obsessed with Morph and was like, "But why does he look like Wolverine?" And I was like, "I think it's just that his hair and Wolverine's hair kind of match." But she was like so confused by like their little dynamic in those first couple episodes. I was like, this is great. I love that she's instantly like, what's the deal with Wolverine and Morph and like asking those kind of questions. But with this new series in particular, I love how much drama happens within like 2 seconds of this show starting.
Right?
Like it's within seconds, and like there's already too much going on. Getting to play, the character that many of us are going to see ourselves in because Morph always has something to say. Was that fun for you to get to kind of play that voice and like where the audience is going to be like, what does Morph think about whatever's about to happen?
Sure. I mean, because and this is in no way shade against the original series. It has a lot of melodramatic craziness that is happening every single second, and it's so entertaining because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fun to sometimes be the character that's be like, gang, this is ridiculous, right? Like,
Like, no thanks. Well, here I want to see more of Morph and Gamby because Gamby is my favorite, and the fact that Gambit is in a crop top cooking beignets has just lived in my head. I cannot stop thinking about it. I'm like,
Did you see it at the premiere?
no,
Were you
I'm
there?
in New York, so I just had the
Oh, okay.
screeners. So I had to watch the three at home by myself.
Rachel, let me tell you, when we were at the premiere and that came on, the entire theater gasped. We were just like, it was, it was a pearl clutching moment. Like,
He turned around and I was like, he is in a crop top cooking beignets. This is the greatest moment.
I've
But
been, we have a little text chain for those of us who are like in the new part of the
uh,
cast, and AJ Locasio Gambit was
uh,
like, "Oh, buddy, I really think that Morph is going to be a fan favorite." I'm like, "But he ain't going to be a thirst trap like you, honey."
that basketball scene. But what I mean, it is really testing the can cartoons be hot conversation. Everyone's like, yeah, they can be.
Anybody who's ever seen Disney's Robin Hood knows the answer to that
I was just
question.
gonna be like that fox, Kovu from The Lion King too. There's like a list of them. But
The general from Mulan.
it,
Hmm.
yep, it does make me wonder though. Like, do you have characters that you wish you got to interact with more as Morph? Because I know like fans have these characters they want to be together, but do you have one in particular?
I mean, well, I mean, the one character that I'm really, that I hope, oh God, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know,
Am
yeah.
I say this?
Um, I hope Morph gets to interact with Mystique at some point because they are, it's rare that you get the two
Mhm.
characters who both do the same thing, and to be like, hey, want to trade notes? Like,
I feel like
uh,
Morph would love Nightcrawler too.
oh
Just
yeah.
like Mystique's son, just like, hey Bestie, what's up? I'm just like your mom.
Although, well, this is the tricky part. Because Morph is, I mean, whether he's fully aware of it or not, he is a member of the queer community. Nightcrawler is very heavily Christian. So,
It's true.
I mean, he was a Catholic monk. So, I hope that they would get along. I hope that that would be
It would bridge
a
the
very
gap.
empathetic relationship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're gonna bridge the gap and solve
Yeah.
all of our
Solve
issues.
it. Solve all of it.
And Nightcrawler and Morph solving world's issues together.
I want that show.
That's the spinoff, is what we're
Yeah.
pitching is
Hmm.
Nightcrawler X Morph,
Yeah.
saving the
Hmm.
world. Uh what I do love about having this back is, and I said this, I interviewed Jake the other day, and I said I felt so happy seeing I wasn't the only one that said this made me feel like I was back in Saturdays, like on Saturdays in the 90s watching cartoons. Like all of us kind of had that nostalgia feeling the minute we got to see these episodes. How has that reaction been for you, knowing that you were also growing up in the 90s and experienced maybe watching this or whatever?
I mean, it's a trip. It's a trip, especially since, the kids today don't know what Saturday morning cartoons are. Like, they haven't been around for at least a decade now, I think. Um, so yeah, it really is a fun nostalgic thing. The X-Men for me though was an after school show. It was
Mm-hmm.
on it was like the Fox Kids thing, but I always missed it because I would get home from school and I would turn on the TV and I would see the end credits of X-Men and then it would go into the Power Rangers, which was really why I was there. So X-Men was something that I actually came to later
Mm-hmm.
because of the movies and then, movies, then the comics, then the show,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I think it's such a nostalgia trip. And from the downbeat of that theme song, it is like a time warp. It is just crazy. And
I have had that in my head for I don't even know how long at this point.
right?
Just because like the trailer came out and I was like, dun, 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 and it's just been in my head and I can't escape it. But you said Mystique, and my girl who I want, who I is quote unquote not an X-Men, but is the daughter of one, is Wanda. Like Wanda Maximoff is my girl. I love her till the ends of this earth. And I really want her to come back and be on 97. Is there another character that you're like, I just for you, not even for Morph, just for you that you really want to see 97? That is not a
Um,
spoiler. Hasn't been in there yet.
I mean, as an agent of chaos, Deadpool. But
Ryan Reynolds voicing Deadpool from a 1997 cartoon.
yeah, but oh God, who would I really want to see pop in? Oh, I'm a big Pyro fan just because like I love the X-Men when the X-Men is camp. Like
Mhm.
I love when the series just went full camp and Pyro is so campy. Like he's just, he's so literally flamboyant and he's just got all that attitude and yeah, I live for that. So, I hope the Firestarter returns.
I love it so much. For my last question, I mean, I love that from its origins and beyond, the X-Men have always kind of been representation of marginalized communities and fighting back and kind of always pushing for representation. For you, what is your joy and excitement of not only getting to be that with Morph in this series, but also get to see another generation have the X-Men cartoon that so many of us watched and learned from as kids?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's great is this show adds to the legacy of not only the previous series and really pays a wonderful homage to the series, but also just updates those things, those lessons that we've come to learn in the past
Mhm.
30 years that are like, oh, this is how we should talk to people and treat people in a way that we didn't fully understand in the 90s. And it's nice that there's a little bit of that is coming into this, but also joining the legacy of the wonderful queer shows that have been on the air in the past like 5 or 10 years, from Shira or Dead End Paranormal Park or the Owl House. Like, there's been so many wonderful portrayals, and to join that pantheon, I mean, that to me is so heartwarming because I mean, this moment is terrifying in the
Mhm.
world, and to know that there are these little animated oases that kids can find themselves and see themselves, especially one that is a hero. I mean, mm, don't make me, don't make me start. I'm gonna start. Yeah, it's
I love
great.
it.
It's really great.
I love it so much. I have never been so happy watching like screeners, and my brother was so mad at me because I just sent him like a picture of Cyclops, and he was like, "You're watching X-Men '97? Tell me how it is. I'm really jealous." And I'm like, "You're 42 and have kids, but like, and I'm 32, and we're both like, oh my god, the X-Men are on." But it
Mhm.
just makes me so happy. So thank you for talking with me, and I can't wait for people to get to meet your Morph and get to see how much I love him, and Gamby's crop top.
Absolutely. I concur.
But thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great one.
You too.
Bye.